Hey folks, welcome to a podcast about Catholic things. This is Eric, the ambassador of common sense, and I'm here with
Dan. I'm the ambassador of nonsense. Welcome everyone.
And I hate to do it, but I think we're going to talk today about what everybody else is talking about, this short video that Mel Gibson put out. Was it like 3 or 4 days ago now?
Yeah, I never even heard of this until you said Mel Gibson video. And here's what's interesting. Like you said, oh, you got to watch the video. I went on Google. I typed in Mel Gibson video. None of the links that came up from doing that was the video you eventually sent me.
I know. It's a pain. Because you put a video out there and instead of just... It's weird how YouTube and Google can't figure out that, hey... Sometimes people just want to see the original video. They don't want all this other crap that everyone else's commentaries and everyone else's edits and things like that. So
I couldn't even find those. I mean, I found stuff about his most recent movie and
I'm sorry. Okay.
Old stuff from 2 years ago and all kinds of stuff.
No,
but
you got to add
relating to this.
You got to add something like Vigano or.
Right, which I had no idea to do because I didn't even know what the video was about.
All right, well,
anyway.
I think in case someone out there hasn't seen it or heard it, we'll go ahead and play that now. And I can't see there being any problem with this because everybody else in the world is doing it. So here is what Mel Gibson put out several days ago.
Hi, there in Chicago, Mel here, the voice crying out from the wilderness of Malibu to lend that voice for your support and encouragement at your rally today. The Coalition for Canceled Priests. I mean, it's not hard to believe that there is now such a thing, as personally I know many priests who have been canceled. But not for the reasons you'd think. I mean, it's not like they did a hit-and-run drive and left the scene of the crime or embezzled church funds, stole the altar wine, or committed some other heinous crime. No, not at all. And who's persecuting them? Well, their own bishops. How's that? Yep. Who are they? Well, they're a pack of men who generally passively sit by and tolerate any kind of nonsense. But if one of their priests utters something that resembles orthodoxy, well, then they spring into action, they reprimand him, and they bully him and do their best to cancel him. And they succeed. They drum him out of the service, Off he goes. I'm really sorry about that. That's a grave injustice, and it's kind of white martyrdom. And it's nothing new. It really isn't. It's nothing new. And it's a symptom. It's a symptom of a very deep sickness that afflicts the church. It did not happen overnight. If anyone's familiar with the missives of Archbishop Vigano, he says that the seeds of erosion of the church were sown with the reforms of Vatican II, and I agree with him. He suggests even that we scrap the whole thing and go back and do it the way it was before. And it was a pastoral council, after all. I mean, there was nothing wrong. It didn't need to be fixed. They were doing pretty well. At any rate, and I've had my own run-in with the bishops. I mean, who are they? Well, I remember when I directed The Passion, I went to the USCCB to get support for the film. And those men couldn't get away from me fast enough. And all but a few of them turned their back on me. And it was pretty telling about who they were. A pretty insipid bunch. And it doesn't look like anything's changed. Geez, I remember back in the 70s, old priests, good priests, who were bullied and persecuted by their bishops. There was a rash of it back then also, and it was because they wanted to maintain what it was that they were ordained to do. They didn't want to go along with the new liturgy and the reforms of Vatican II, and so that they were really heavily leaned on. It was never abrogated, the old Mass, never, and it still hasn't been. You can't. It's protected by quo primum. But they were bullied and badgered and put in insane asylums, and it was pretty sad to watch. And this kind of thing is now happening again. So, and how are we supposed to know the good guys from the bad guys? Well, we were given a standard by which to judge them. By their fruits, you'll know them. By their fruits. Anybody seen any good fruit lately? Well, it's tough. And look, I'm a pretty sinful guy. I mean, I'm as venal as the next guy. But I know the difference between a shepherd and a hireling. And I think that the vast majority of these bishops are just a bunch of hirelings, you know. And my question is, you know, like, who's hiring them? I don't think it's Jesus. Is it Francis? Who's hiring Francis? Is it Pachamama? I mean, I think you need to look at the whole institution. And, you know, I'll quote Archbishop Vigano again in saying that he believes that there was a parallel counterfeit church set up to eclipse the real one. He's suggesting usurpation or an inside job. It seems that way. Anyway, of course we know the gates of hell will not prevail against it. You know, the victory is God's, not ours. And it will flourish if we keep it in our hearts. It can flourish in our hearts and keep the faith. And that's what's going to happen. That's what I encourage you to do. Again, I'm sorry for your pain, the injustice. I'll definitely throw something in the hat to add my support. And God keep you and God bless you. Thank you.
I don't know. A couple things pop out at me. I don't really think this is worthy of a whole lot of conversation, but it's getting a lot of conversation. So I feel like we should kind of join in on it. Now, you know, we've known that Mel Gibson was a kind of a trad for a long time. Sorry, I'm adjusting my mic out of the way while I'm talking, and I should have stopped talking before I did that. So
now it sounds like you're walking away.
Yeah. But, I mean,
okay, wait.
It shouldn't be that big of a surprise to people, what he says
but
here.
But since we're talking about Mel Gibson, are we going to do the dad thing?
Where his dad came to visit our house and, like...
yeah.
I think my dad told
our dad,
everybody
after
in
that
the
happened,
world.
What's so funny is that our dad had no idea who Mel Gibson even was.
Right.
But after he learned this, he would brag to people that Mel Gibson's dad was in his house.
Yeah. But Mel Gibson he did the Passion movies. After the movies, he admitted that he wished he had been more spiritually prepared before he did that movie. So I guess what I'm pointing out here is that, yeah, he knows that his movies in the past didn't really reflect the convictions of a traditional Catholic, and that maybe
you're
he's
talking about everything
sorry
from,
for those, like Lethal Weapon and
the Lethal Weapon movies,
the nude
things like
scenes,
Tequila
things
Sunrise.
like that.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's that big a deal. I don't have any trouble calling him a traditional Catholic at this point in his life. He is a traditional Catholic, and he's not like, he knows all the insider stuff. Otherwise he wouldn't be talking about it. So
yeah,
there's no reason to talk about him like, oh, he's just a Hollywood moron, you know, who doesn't quite get it. But
no, I think what's interesting is that he's I know a lot of people have come to see him as a lot of people have started to kind of down talk him as things, you know, the kind of the polarization of America, and clearly he's on the more conservative side and that kind of stuff. But I think what's interesting is that he's a well-known name who, you know, already has, you know, you say Mel Gibson, everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows who you're talking about.
Yeah, except for our dad.
Except for our dad. And what he's doing is he's saying things that appear to be the sort of common sense reality. Now, some of the interpretation, we might take issue with a little bit of this or that, but it's interesting that he's just kind of like putting it out there. Well, yeah, it seems like this is what's going on. You know, it's like, well, yeah, okay, it really does seem like this is what's going on. And here he is saying the common sense reality that a lot of people today will try to say, oh, you're like way off the deep end for saying something like that.
Yeah. And more than that, I see kind of he sees these things, but he's kind of at a loss of words for what's going on. The fact that they have this this gathering of priests, this organization to help priests who have been canceled by their bishops for being too
I looked that up.
orthodox, and is
the Coalition for Canceled Priests.
And he's just kind of
what? Really?
Yeah, he's reacting the way any normal person would react. Even a normal person who already knows that good priests are being canceled all over.
Yeah.
The fact that it's happening enough to where there's a group of them now.
Mm-hmm. Although I really do want to, I mean, in the interest of, I don't know what you'd call it, like completeness, due diligence, and so forth, I'm looking at the website, and I can't tell whether it really is a coalition or it's just a guy who put the website up hoping that it'll grow into a coalition.
Yeah. Or maybe like someone who, say, wants to be in contact with canceled priests and is hoping those canceled priests would contact him.
Like reach out to him or whatever. Right.
Maybe form a coalition.
Seems to be based in Flossmoor, Illinois. I wonder what diocese that's in.
Yeah. But that's what's his name's? Who's in Illinois? I can't say his name. The really bad bishop.
Yeah, so how close he's the one in Chicago.
Yeah. Who is that?
So is Flossmoor part of the Chicago Diocese, for example?
Who is that?
I have no idea where Flossmoor is. I didn't even know there was a city named Flossmoor.
Okay, but who's the Cupich?
Supich, yeah.
Okay.
The one in Chicago is Supich.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is right there by Chicago. I mean, it's
so it'd probably be him.
Tiny bit southwest of Gary. So
you would assume that there's a whole lot of
diocese.
Canceled priests right there, because this guy's just this guy's the worst.
Yeah, it seems like everybody in Chicago is it? Because we just recently talked about Bernardine. He was in Chicago too.
Yeah,
Mr. Seamless Garment.
Yeah, and I guess apparently Pilarchik expected to be sent to Chicago. And was upset that he wasn't.
Yeah, that's
So, anyway, I mean the video itself. I don't think there's anything. I know that he talks about what Vigano says, and I think he kind of misquoted him a little bit.
He doesn't go into it real deep.
Yeah, but I don't see anything. He does make a good point.
He doesn't get like into theological. It's more like common sense, like feet on the ground kind of talk. It's like, yeah, Vigano says we should scrap Vatican II. You go back and you look pre-Vatican II, there weren't really any problems to be solved anyway. Why don't we scrap it? That kind of approach.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, he quotes Vigano. He says the seeds were sown with Vatican II. That doesn't necessarily mean that the problem started with Vatican II.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody had to be there to throw the seeds. So
I don't know. Yeah, it's like if the seeds were sown in Vatican II, I almost would disagree with that. Obviously we know people who would disagree with that. But it's like, well, if the seeds were sown in Vatican II, they're you're just kind of punting the football a little bit further down the field to point out that, okay, if the seeds were sown in Vatican II, the soil that those seeds grew in had to be laid down a lot earlier than that.
Yeah.
And I think
we've
kind of talked about that. There's no way like there was some kind of sudden change in direction in Vatican II. Whatever it is that was sown in Vatican II was actually there in some form way before that. And Vatican II was a culmination of things, not the beginning of things.
But it's not idiotic to say
that represents, the blossoming of problems.
Yeah. It's not stupid to say, well, this all started with Vatican II, because that's when we all saw it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there were problems before that, but that's
sort of the feet on the ground common sense view of it.
Yeah. It's not even, I'm sure he understands that there was a problem before that. And I'm sure Vigano does too. Now, as far as scrapping the whole thing, I mean, I don't
know. What would you scrap? Could you keep Vatican II and scrap the so-called spirit of Vatican II? Because it seems like everything that's the problem has to do with some amorphous spirit of Vatican II.
Yeah, it's like the magical spirit of Vatican II. If you say, well, show me in Vatican II where you find a problem with, the rad-trads will come up with like three small things that really are ambiguous.
They'll take those and blow them into like literally make mountains out of molehills with them.
And we're going over some of the documents on an ongoing basis, especially the one dealing with the Mass. And even by this time, we're pretty early into the document, and it's very obvious from looking at the document that the Mass we go to the Mass that most people go to every week now is not the result of Vatican II.
Right.
That Vatican II had nothing to do with that, because when you look at what Vatican II calls for and you look at the Mass and it's like, well, that's not what this called for. So you can't really blame Vatican II, but it's just that's when it happened. That's what gave someone the excuse to do all this crap. So I don't know what going back and scrapping I don't know what that would even look like. And, I don't really know what kind of problems were in the church before then, too. When he says nothing was wrong, the church was doing well, how do you know that?
Yeah. Well, it's...
We didn't have the mass media we have today. Maybe there was still a pretty bad problem.
You had people
it's just a different problem.
Like Bishop Sheen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that was the problem. Is Bishop Sheen? With mass media now, people like Bishop Sheen were suddenly able to. Fulton Sheen was like becoming a thing, and if other people like him were going to be able to do that, and somebody saw that and said, "Well, we got to do something about this. We can't have this growing like that." So they. But I kind of feel like there's this. I imagine. I bet that if you were like able to be a fly on the wall of a lot of interior meetings of and conversations between prelates and bishops and cardinals and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that you would find out that the so-called spirit of Vatican II actually existed way before Vatican II. It's just that it was underground. And what happened was that with Vatican II, even though the documents, the text on page, the black and white wording didn't really support it, it became the precipitating event for the kind of the outing of the so-called spirit of Vatican II. I think that's what really happened.
Yeah. And I think there were a lot of bishops who they didn't have the power to do anything about it. I would assume. I would hope. But I know there were bishops who did not want who saw the real changes and said, wait a minute, that's not what we talked about, and wanted to do something about it, but were silent.
It's like, shut up, this is what we're doing. Yeah, that could be too.
They signed Sacrosanctum Concilium, and they're like, okay, yeah, this looks good, because there's nothing really wrong with it. And then all of a sudden they come out with this new mass. By then it's too late. They're like, what the hell is this?
What we signed on for? Well, too late.
Yeah.
The Pope promulgated it. You got to do it.
Yeah. So then he talked about this in the 70s, the priests that were trying to hold on to the Tridentine Mass and were silenced. I don't know how much that really went on. You know, if you listen to the SSPX, what happened was the few priests who didn't like the new Mass went over and became a group called the SSPX, and then they were excommunicated, and that's who they are. I don't believe that for a second.
No, that's not quite the history of it.
I hear the claim so often, and it's so laughable to me that we wouldn't have a Tridentine Mass if it wasn't for the SSPX. And it's like, well, would we forget how to say it? I mean,
we wouldn't have a Tridentine Mass. I mean, the SSPX might or might not have a Tridentine Mass, but we wouldn't have a Tridentine Mass if it weren't for people like our mother and people who the kind of people she associated with,
who stayed in the church and
who
fought
were not
in the
SSPX.
church.
Yeah,
it's they like wouldn't go to them.
SSPX, they didn't even rely on the SSPX for the things that they did.
If they had gone to the SSPX, then that would mean all the traditional Catholics are gone.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have a Tridentine Mass. So, anyway, he goes into how do we tell good from the bad. It's a valid question, and he gives a valid answer. We judge men by their fruits.
I know, I like that. It's like, okay, wait a minute. You break it down to our Lord's words like that. By their fruits you shall know them. Oh, all right. Yeah, let's look at the fruits. Sex scandal, faithful without faith in the Eucharist. Well, can you call them the faithful if they don't have faith in the Eucharist?
Yeah, they're not quite the faithful.
I don't know,
then.
we need a new word for that.
How about bishops and priests diddling young men and
yeah, exactly. That the whole growing financial corruption in the church.
And that looks like it's getting worse and worse.
Somebody pointed out, I forget who pointed that out, that it's, there's always this kind of link between sexual misbehavior and financial corruption.
Yeah, I can see.
I have never done a research myself to see if that's true, but somebody pointed that out, like, that may very well be true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're doing things that bad, hold on. I guess no, I don't.
I gotta get Coke tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you have that much money and if you're already that corrupt, then it's easier to get away with things, and that's why they seem to go hand in hand, maybe.
Yeah.
But and here's the thing. Here's what's weird is that we brought up the subject of the canceled priests a couple episodes ago. We were going to do a whole episode on that, and then we kind of
focused it on one priest, the guy from Costa Rica,
and then just spent time talking about the bishops, who, I mean, they're the problem, and.
So you think Mel listened to our podcast?
Yeah, he heard our podcast. He's like, I'm going to talk about this. The thing is, this week, I was taking the kids to Mass, and on the way home, I said, you see all them, there's a whole row of young men who are kind of dressed funny. I said, I'm not sure, but I think those are all seminarians.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Were they
seminarians.
dressed in, like, black robes or something like that?
Yeah, they had robes and funny hair and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, this tiny parish, there's a whole row of seminarians up there. And you could tell that they're probably all going to be priests, maybe good priests, just by their reverence for the Mass and what's going on around them. Now, St. John the Baptist, where my old parish was in Harrison, Ohio, it's a big parish. There's a lot of people. They had one seminarian.
Now, hold on. St. John the Baptist, was that the one that had that wall in front of the tabernacle? The very decorative, nice-looking wall.
No, that was St. Joseph in Cleves, Ohio.
Okay.
Now I don't know though, because they rebuilt the church. They built a new church, and I have not been to the new church, and I have a feeling I don't want to. I think maybe they did the same thing there.
So St. John the Baptist, is that the one your daughter was married at?
St. Joseph was where my daughter was married.
Okay, all right.
St. John the Baptist is where I was married.
Oh, okay. I remember that then. Okay.
Which it looks like a small church, but
it's
they would have
parish.
like four masses. Six masses per Sunday if you include Saturdays. And they were all pretty much packed.
The church is small, but the parish has a lot of people.
Yeah, and in that they had one guy who was. In the years that I went there, I only saw one seminarian who was going to become a priest.
Oh, no kidding.
It just occurred to me, that's the fruit of the Novus Ordo.
Yeah.
You go to the Tridentine Mass, and I see a whole pew full of seminarians. You know? It occurred to me that is the fruit of those two masses. And we can certainly see the fruit of these men we are calling bishops. And, you know, he asks the question, who is hiring these guys? Is it Francis? And then he said, who's hiring Francis?
Shepherds and hirelings.
Right.
Who's hiring them, though? Who's hiring Francis?
And then he mentions Pachamama. Because that's what it seems like. The Pachamama.
He's just kind of almost just doing like word association at that point, but
right. You know, the question is the devil hiring our bishops? And it seems like he is. I don't know what else you would.
Yeah, I almost wonder because I didn't think of this until you just said it. But this whole I don't know. It's weird because ever since this motu proprio, I keep seeing new angles of this thing, and you just pointed out a new one. One of the fruits of the new Mass is a drop in vocations to the priesthood, or at least in men answering those vocations to the priesthood. Well, is it possible that, maybe in the diabolic mind of Satan, but maybe even also in some of the minds of cardinals and bishops and who knows, maybe a pope or two, that this is a way to get people to open up to the idea of women priests. It's like,
oh yeah,
we
need
can get
priests.
the
we need
vocations to the priesthood to drop to such drastic levels, and then say, well, you know what? This is why we need to have women, and then everybody accepts it. Now, I mean, the Holy Spirit will keep the church from actually doing that, but that doesn't mean that it's not in the minds of those who are so insistent that the traditional Mass has to be completely stamped out.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what we're seeing. But the weird thing is that Francis came out with that canon change that was going to excommunicate
anybody who attempts to ordain a woman. Was that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah. And anyone who attempts to, and the woman herself.
I don't know. You know, the Pope Francis is such a weird bird. I almost wonder if there's like two Pope Francises or something. You know, like
there's Pope Francis, and then the Pope Francis that is still controlled by the Holy Spirit, who says, "Yeah, you need to do this." I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like he's like a dual personality, or he has some kind of a doppelganger that steps in and does it. It's almost like there's the normal Pope Francis, and then this doppelganger that steps in and does these protective things once in a while, like the excommunication of trying to ordain a woman to the priesthood.
Yeah.
I almost think of that as the doppelganger because it's out of character with everything else Pope Francis does.
I guess at this point we could just thank God it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
however it is.
It put the nix on a lot of probably things that were going on. I don't think he would have done that unless he knew that something was
in the
going to
works.
happen.
Yeah. Some people speculate that it had to do with like German bishops and stuff like that. And maybe it did. I don't know.
Well,
I'm
I know that
I'm not a German, so I don't know.
They were told they can't bless gay unions, but they went ahead and did that anyway. I don't think any of those were laicized.
Yeah, that was one of those where it's like they sidestepped it by saying, you can't tell us we can't bless gay people. Oh, well, we'll just bless them. They'll happen to be there together, but we're just giving a blessing to each one individually.
Yeah.
It's like, really? That, you
Yeah.
But even then, it's like, why did, I guess his own CDF came out with that thing, but again, that itself is like uncharacteristic
of
him. I don't know. It's weird. It's like you look at the pontificate of Pope Francis, and it seems like there's two of them.
Yeah.
Now I know people have explanation. Oh, it's really just all about his ego and that kind of stuff. I don't know. It doesn't feel like that's the whole story to me.
I wonder if
I'm not proposing
is doing something from behind the scenes, or
that could be. I don't know. I'm not suggesting that there really is some kind of a conspiracy behind this. I'm just saying that it's weird. I don't have an answer. Weird. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, then he goes back to...
I've heard don't satisfy me.
Right. Yeah. So then he goes back to Vigano, and he brings up... The way he phrased it, he said something about Vigano again, and he says, I don't know. It seems like there is a counterfeit parallel church.
Yeah,
that eclipses the real one.
Yeah, again, from boots on the ground, it looks like that. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I kind of like about the thing. It's not like he's giving some kind of... He's not presuming to give some kind of deep ecclesial or theological analysis or anything. He's just saying, sure looks like this.
Yeah. Now, okay, I can see how you would say, when you hear someone say counterfeit parallel church that eclipses the real church, you could say, well, this is the something like the SSPX or one of those crowds saying we're the real church and you guys are in a fake church. And I don't think that's really what it's saying.
No, and I don't think that's really even what Vigano is hinting at or what Mel Gibson is thinking about.
Right. Yeah, I went back and read some of the things that Vigano, what he actually said. And he said there's an eclipse that is obscuring the Church of Christ, superimposing over it an anti-church of heretics, corrupt men, and fornicators. To me, that does not suggest that there's a real church and a fake church, and that the real church is like a secret one that no one knows about. That's not what that tells me.
That sounds more like he's saying that the sinfulness of men, that the sinful inclinations of men have taken a hold of those who are supposed to be the shepherds of the church, and that is eclipsing the holiness of the church that is supposed to shine through their shine forth through their commissions. That's what it sounds like to me.
We still have the church.
We've said that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. It's still there. It's still the same thing. It's still what we've always seen. It's just that there's a lot of sin that paints it red now and makes it ugly.
Yeah.
Or makes it look ugly. I mean, when you got a pope like we have, or especially if you have bishops like we have, Especially if you're on the outside looking in, you look at that and think, well, that's just disgusting. I would never be a part of that.
Right.
I don't see how you can get anything other than that. Now, he did say, well, it's really almost saying the same thing. Another quote, he says, "For 60 years, we have witnessed the eclipse of the true church by an anti-church that has progressively appropriated her name, occupied the Roman Curia and her dicasteries, dioceses and parishes, seminaries and universities, convents and monasteries. The anti-church has usurped her authority, and its ministers wear her sacred garments. It uses her prestige and power to appropriate her treasures, assets, and finances." I still think that says basically what you just said.
Yeah.
I don't think that means that he thinks there's this other church that's been building up in secret and like they're going to come in the end and save us all or anything like that. It
still doesn't. Yeah, I don't think Vigano's proposing that there's like somehow a hidden structure of the real church that's, biding its time or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on the same page as that. That's what I hear some people like who are close to the SSPX crowd who seem to think, oh, wow, that this is what he's saying. And, he's given more
overlay it onto
credence
their own SSPX
to our side.
History and everything, yeah.
And then other people who are closer to the opposite end saying, well, Mel Gibson is trying to promote a schismatic church. And I don't think either of those things are true. I think he's just, this is what it looks like. Yeah. And that is what it looks like. That's what it looks like to me. It's gross. It's terrible.
I don't think Mel Gibson's doing anything other than saying, you bishops that are keeping your priests from being Orthodox and Catholic, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You're acting like the whore of Babylon.
Yeah.
I think
he's
that's
lamenting
all Mel Gibson is saying.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, it's terrible. We come in here almost every week and do the same thing.
Yeah,
but I do believe you can't leave the church. And if Pope Francis comes out and says no more Latin Mass, again, I'll say we can't go to the Latin Mass. It's just
until another Pope comes and changes it.
Which I think will happen if you got to trust in God at some point and just say, yeah, it's bad right now, but
it will it will turn around. It will get better. It will resolve. It will, Christ's Sacred Heart will triumph.
Yeah. That's another thing, is he ends with the whole gates of hell quote.
Oh, that's right. He did do that, didn't he?
And he says the church will still be there, and he says it will flourish.
Not just survive, but flourish.
Yeah, and if it's a secret church, then it's not flourishing. So I don't think he means that there's a secret church.
Right. No, I think he's taken it in the same spirit that Vigano is intending it.
Yeah.
At least that's what I heard.
Okay. Well, that's all I got to say on that. Is there... You got anything else on there? It's kind of short for us.
I mean, that's all I've got to say on it, except that I was just reflecting that God has... God's providence works in, from outside of history. I mean, God works inside of history, but his providence works from outside of history in order to guide history. And obviously, the defection of the church would be Satan's greatest victory. He'll never be allowed to have that victory. He'll always be denied it. And he knows that people like us are pointing out that he'll always be denied it. That doesn't keep him from going after it. But here's the thing: in the allowance of the greater glory of God, if you look at the various crises of the church, the moral crises of the church. I mean, you had the age of Arianism and that kind of stuff, and various times where the church has gone corrupt, either doctrinally or morally. Yes, it does seem like this is one of the worst ages, because you've got this sort of part doctrinally, part morally, not just hey, we're going to adopt a false doctrine on the part of the bishops, not just, we're going to go be immoral, which they have been on the part of many of the leaders of the church, but almost a adoption of an attitude that says the doctrine doesn't even matter. We're just going to allow people to do what they do, and we're going to be okay with it. And but the thing is this: God allows things to happen in history according to what His true faithful can handle within that period of history. In today's world, we've got the whole, massive, we've got the internet and all the mass communications and all of that kind of stuff. And that has become something of a powerful weapon for the forces of evil, including those forces within the church itself. But this is also the day when anybody who wants to, anybody who has an inkling of, hey, wait a minute, I want to make sure that I'm true to that which Christ has taught throughout the ages, they can jump on the internet and they can find the ancient documents of the church and the ancient dictates of the various councils, and they can read the histories and they can read the writings of the fathers of the church, and so on and so on. It's easier than ever to discover the ancient tradition of the church as a remedy for the modern corruption that's going on within the church. And so I kind of think that even though this is, in a sense, the worst that crisis the church has maybe been in, historically speaking, it's also happening within that time of history when those who want to remain faithful are most able to find the things to edify themselves to do so.
Yeah,
so
you think
I just think of it as another flourishing of God's providence.
What if this had happened, what's going on right now, and I don't mean just breaking with small things here and there, but what's happening right now, what if that had happened in Europe in the 1200s or whatever? Yeah. The loss that most people would be at, they would have no real way to connect to the truth.
Right. Or what if it had happened in the 1930s and 40s?
Yeah. Well, a lot more newspapers.
The forces of evil have mass communications, radio at their fingertips, but the faithful don't have an internet to jump on and say, "Wait a minute, what would Saint Cyprian say about this? What would Saint Basil? What would There would be no way to do that."
Yeah, and there's so much out there now. There's so many people looking into these things constantly.
Yeah,
where there wasn't a long time ago.
So I am I know when I see the overall play out of history, I find myself more and more not being all that disturbed. Other than in small ways, I get disturbed about the possibilities of, wait a minute, okay, these forces of evil, they might be influencing my children and leading them astray. It's that kind of thing that bothers me, not the overall direction of history.
Certainly. Okay, well, let's talk about news.
All right.
The president of Kenya declares a state of disaster due to the drought that's affecting the country. Mm-hmm. So there's drought in Kenya. Not far away from there, there's floods. There's floods and droughts and earthquakes and all kinds of stuff. The Irish Department of Health announces that people 80 or over and nursing home residents of 65 or older will be receiving the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine will receive a booster mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, regardless of which vaccine they got first. I don't quite understand that. Does the booster help someone who didn't get that vaccine?
I don't know. Because other than that, if it doesn't matter which one you got first, then why did you have to follow up with your second shot as being the same one as the first shot? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, there's more and more that just keeps coming out that's so suspicious about this whole vaccine. I keep calling it the vaccebo. It's like, I really am beginning more and more to suspect that this has nothing to do with the disease or with medicine or with COVID, and that all it is a compliance test. It's a way to see, are we, do we have a population that's ready to be compliant and do whatever we tell it to do? How else can you explain the goofiness behind all of this stuff?
Yeah, they don't even try to make it sound reasonable anymore. They just say the dumbest things and
get the vaccine because then you'll feel better. But no, you'll still spread the disease, and you can still get the disease. You might not get it quite as bad if you have the vaccine. No, you still have to wear a mask, and you still have to social distance, and that kind of stuff. But it's like, really? Then what's the point? Well, because you might not get it as badly if you do get it, and then
I don't understand how there's anyone not red-pilled at this point.
I know. How do you?
Crazy. How do you accept these things and just keep swallowing it whole?
Yeah, well, we've talked on this podcast before about how deep the human drive to be ruled by someone else is. We saw it in ancient Israel when they desired a king.
I know,
just because their neighbors had kings.
But it's so foreign to my nature.
Mine too. That's what it's like.
It's almost hard for me to
is the whole human race different? Are we a different species?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. No matter what they come out with, I have a fight with. I can't stand anyone telling me what I ought to be doing. And it's like, I don't understand these people who just, it's like they feel lost if somebody's not telling them when to go to the bathroom, when to go to bed. It's weird.
It's like, I love the description, the biblical description of Israel before the kings. It said Israel had no king, and each man did as it seemed good for him to do.
Yeah.
It's like, why doesn't everybody want to live that way? I don't get it.
That seems like the perfect way. Crazy. Okay. Do you remember November 2015, there were a whole bunch of kind of organized terrorist attacks in Paris? It was like right before Christmas, I remember.
Yeah.
It was a big deal, but the trial for the people who are accused in those attacks is starting.
Oh, they're finally getting around to it.
Yeah. It's supposed to be the biggest trial in the history of modern France. Mm-hmm. They let all these people in. What did they think was going to happen? I mean, they come from an area where that's what rules, is terrorism. That's how people are ruled, is through terrorism. We'll go ahead and jump to that now. What's going on in Afghanistan. So the American flights carrying evacuees from Afghanistan are suspended for now because of 4 of the Afghan refugees having measles. So I don't know where they're going. Like if they're just, I don't know where they're keeping them until they bring them here, but the refugees that we've decided to accept are on pause because 4 of the people who came in had measles.
Because 4 people had measles?
Measles.
I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if you had said COVID or something like that, which would be equally stupid. But measles?
Yeah.
We're able to detect and quarantine measles. We don't need to stop flights because people have measles.
Yeah, that's the thing. Most people here in America have been vaccinated for that and would be... I mean,
the MMR vaccine.
We
don't care about measles.
Okay, they have measles. Even at worst, you just bring them in and quarantine them for a while. But generally, all the doctors and nurses taking care of them are going to have been vaccinated. Mm-hmm. I don't see any danger of it spreading, but oh well. The Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, says that Taliban response to peaceful marches has been increasingly violent. Yeah, really? Authorities are using live ammunition, batons, whips, and has resulted in death.
There's a bunch of people that could have said that it was going to go that way and did say that it was going to go that way.
Yeah. We knew this was going to happen. I don't
know. That
I don't know if there
like
was
a weatherman reporting
I don't know.
on yesterday's weather.
Yeah. So the Taliban education minister announces there's going to be some restrictions on education for women and girls, including gender-segregated classrooms and mandatory hijabs. What is that word? Hijab.
Yeah, the thing they have to wear that covers their face.
Oh, they have to cover their face. Okay. That's not a huge deal.
That, to me, isn't a huge deal all by itself. I'm in favor of gender separation for, like, education of high school students.
Yeah.
Okay, I went to an all-boy high school. I liked it. There were things we could do that would not be appropriate to do if there were girls around. I know girls that went to all-girl high schools. I think they get along just fine. I mean, we don't make our girls wear hijabs or whatever they are called, and I don't think they should. But the fact of
whatever.
saying,
that's what they do.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. We don't put our girls into an all-girl high school and say, you're not allowed to learn the special things the boys are allowed to learn.
Yeah, you can't learn math and science. And I have a feeling that's what will happen, though.
I think that's what the Taliban are probably doing in Afghanistan.
Yeah. United States will send $64 million in aid to Afghanistan. I don't get that at all.
Who's going to?
They're basically giving $64 million to the Taliban because that's who controls Afghanistan.
You can't send money to. It's not like you can wire money to individuals in Afghanistan.
Right.
I mean, you could, but not really. It's the infrastructure's just not there for them to be able to get it without the Taliban being involved. This is money going to the Taliban.
United Nations begins a fundraising event to collect $600 million in emergency funds for various Afghani agencies by the end of the year. Again, I think that money's pretty much going to go to the Taliban.
And who knows whether it'll end up being used for its purpose.
Yeah.
Well, we know it won't.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say who knows.
So, United States District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers rules that Apple Incorporated cannot stop mobile app developers from directing users to third-party payment options.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal, but I don't quite understand how yet.
This was a lawsuit on the part of, this was the game company. Who was the game company that was spearheading this? But basically, you get these games, and you have these games online. It's like, okay, you're playing the game, and then you have what are called in-game purchases.
Okay, I've seen those.
Okay. Now, the thing is, once you're playing the game, the idea is that, okay, those in-game purchases are entirely between you and the game, and the game can use whatever infrastructure it wants to use according to that game's own designers to handle those payments and to make those happen. Well, Apple was saying, no, you're not allowed to do it that way. You have to make all in-game payments go through us.
Oh, okay.
And so it sounds like this is shutting that down, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
So, I knew this lawsuit was in play. My kids talk about it.
Yeah.
They are aware of such things.
Yeah. Okay. Russia has completed the construction of that natural gas pipeline from Germany.
Of course.
The flow of gas cannot begin until they get approval from German regulators. I remember when Germany decided they were going to buy from Russia, Trump was pretty ate up over it and criticized her for that. But now they're going to do that. They're buying energy from who they used to say was an enemy, but oh well.
Yeah.
I guess we do it too. So.
Enemy? What's that?
Yeah. China. The Sierra Pacific Synod of Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, ELCA, installs a Megan Rohr as their bishop. This is the first openly transgender and non-binary bishop in any major Christian denomination. I can't remember what non-binary means. That means
non-binary. Oh, that means that you don't accept the idea that your sex is male or female. That would be binary.
Yeah.
You're either male or female. And you say, oh well, but your sex is actually something other than male or female. So it's not binary. It's not just a one or this or that kind of option. It's okay. So here's
I can never tell if these things. Is this a boy who thinks she's a girl or a girl who thinks she's a boy? I can never tell.
But here's the thing. If a guy, let's say in the Catholic Church, a guy decides that he's a woman.
Can you still be a priest?
I'm sorry. I just thought of the most twisted test case for Pope Francis's change in canon law.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Decides he's a woman, and then as a woman goes to be ordained, does the Pope Francis canon law apply to that or not? What a stupid, mixed up world we live in. You know what? It's fun. Just the other day, I don't know what made me think of it. You ever hear of a movie called The Year of Living Dangerously?
No.
I've never seen it, but I've heard the title, The Year of Living Dangerously. Okay. Anyway, that title somehow, like just sort of juxtaposed in my head with 2020. And actually, I'm almost beginning to think 2021 is better for this. But just 2020 itself, I just thought of The Year of Living Stupidly.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's been.
Yeah.
I think in terms of day-to-day life, at least here in Indiana, we're beyond that now. No, we're not really living stupidly anymore like we did in 2020. But anyway.
Everybody got stupid in 2020. It was so weird.
Hopefully. It was so weird.
Yeah.
We could have looked back at that as like, wow, that was really a bad year.
People were really dumb. Like, the whole world went dumb.
The Russians, smoke bombed us with I don't know, pot bombs or something. I don't know.
A Dutch court rules that Uber drivers are entitled to the same employee benefits afforded to taxi drivers.
Ooh, I'm not sure that I like that.
That's so bad.
Yeah, because the whole point about Uber was that it doesn't fall under those same kind of regulations. If you're going to start putting it under those regulations,
Well, then it's just another taxi company.
Yeah, you're starting to just chip away at what made Uber so great to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a bad thing.
So that's just a Dutch. So.
Oh.
I don't know.
I
don't know. That wouldn't apply to America or anything.
Yeah.
But, I hate to say this. If I were Uber, I would say, you know what? We're out of here.
That's true.
A bunch of people just lost their jobs.
This is in Holland, right? You said Dutch?
I guess.
I mean, that's a tiny country.
Yeah. They could leave it.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we'll have Uber everywhere else, and then we'll have Uber Holland that is another taxi company.
Yeah. North Korea confirms that it has tested a new long-range cruise missile capable of carrying nuclear warhead. The missiles are a strategic weapon of great significance, according to their local state-controlled media.
Well, it is North Korea, so we don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
But if it is true, that is significant because assuming they could get a hold of nuclear warheads or produce them, I don't know how long range they're talking about, but that could include the United States.
That could. But here's the thing. They're just saying that they've tested. It's a claim. Now,
that they've tested
in the same week. Yeah, in the same week, North Korea demonstrates 2 short-range ballistic missiles that land just outside of Japan's territorial waters. 2 hours later, South Korea demonstrates a submarine-launched ballistic missile. Comments made during the South Korean launch immediately draw condemning remarks from North Korea's Kim Yo-jong. I don't know who Kim Yo-jong is. If he's some dignitary or something, but that's probably that's the guy's sister, ain't it?
Has Biden weighed in on this at all?
No, not that I can see yet.
I mean, obviously, it's going to draw condemnation from North Korea. But
yeah.
I would I would welcome South Korea's ability to defend itself against North Korea.
Right. Hurricane Nicholas makes landfall just after midnight. This is the second hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. this season. It came in and then went northeast, moving towards communities recently hit by Ida.
Where did it make landfall? Was it on the coast or like in the Gulf? I have not been tracking
it's not
hurricanes.
telling me. I have not either. So it comes in at Louisiana.
Oh, so it is Gulf.
It goes through it goes through the Gulf.
Okay.
So is it still out there? That's Friday at 7 a.m. Okay, this was last week. I think it's over now. It didn't go.
Especially and it's okay. So, and then it moved northeast from there.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like some thunderstorm we had last night might have been like a
remnant.
Remnant of it. Yeah, that's even that might. I don't know.
Yeah. At the end of a European Union summit, representatives threatened to fine Poland on a daily basis and then withhold part of the EU's budget from Hungary over their laws against the LGBT communities. Their laws are not against the LGBT communities. Their laws tell schools you're not allowed to talk to the children about gays.
Yeah.
If I understand it right, those are the only laws. It's just you don't need to be telling kids this stuff.
Yeah. But I mean the whole LGBT PQZ.
Everyone has to accept us.
LGBTQPZ agenda is to normalize it for kids. That's why things like Drag Queen Story Hour are so important, because they need to normalize it for kids in order to groom kids for pedo. The P part of LGBTQPZ. The P
this goes all the way back to Heather has two mommies, or was it daddies? I can't remember. Let's see, Arizona Attorney General Mark. That's got to be a misspelling. You know what? Arizona Attorney General files a lawsuit against Joe Biden and his administration over the vaccine mandate. That makes Arizona the first state to fight back on this vaccine mandate.
I'm liking Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of those things. This mandate, by the way, that you're talking about, this is the one where Joe Biden said that through OSHA, he's going to enforce a requirement that every business, I guess, that employs more than 100 people is going to be required to require their employees to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
Can you? I mean, he just kind of dropped this out of the air. There's no way. I mean, think of the number of businesses in the United States, throughout the United States, that have between 100 and 1,000 employees.
Yeah.
And the paperwork that would be involved just to try to track them down.
Yeah, I know.
And verify all this stuff. That's ridiculous.
Well, the problem is that a lot of them will do it anyway.
Well, a lot of them will do it anyway, but a lot of them won't want to. And so, is the federal government really going to say, all you people have to go home, you're suddenly out of a job, we're closing your business down? That's going to make the Democrats very unpopular.
But most business owners are going to just do it.
I don't agree. I think most mega business owners like Microsoft would just do it.
No,
but a lot of small businesses aren't gonna be so eager.
They were pretty eager to push that mask onto people.
I don't know. I don't think all the small business owners were.
Well, I guess I go to a lot of places, and it was like, I guess you're right. There were a lot of them. They would have signs on the door say mask required after this point, and then you go in, nobody's wearing a mask.
And there were
at
least
a lot of them where everybody
that I went in, and the guy's like, he's like apologizing, like, you know, he's like, man, I'm so sorry, but I've had the sheriff coming in here, and he's just looking to be able to give me a ticket over this stuff. I gotta ask you to put a mask on. I've had guys do that to me.
I've had guys do that, and I've had guys who seemed very happy to tell me to put a mask on.
There's that. I'm sure there are some. But, you know, the other thing is that a lot of these businesses, okay, let's say you've got 150 employees. It's like, well, okay, let's just, on paper, split the company up into two companies. Everything's going to work the same way, but now we're two companies. Each one employs 75 people. Mask mandate no longer matters to us. $30 to file with the with our state's Secretary of State, and
it could be a nightmare paperwork though.
I don't think it's
when
that
it
bad.
Comes time to claim taxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's true. Because then your whatever firm you have do your various. Because most businesses that size, once you get to more than about 15 employees, you're going to be hiring some firm to do your accounting for you, your payroll and your taxes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it might be, okay, you got to pay, each side of it has to pay their own fee for us to do that. Okay, yeah, that might be a little bit. But anyway, it's a weird, I think it's a weird mandate, and I don't think it's necessarily as enforceable as maybe Biden imagines that it is. It'll be interesting to see. Isn't that the one that the Babylon Bee, like right after, came out with a you know what the Babylon Bee is. They always have like...
I know what it is.
joke
I never
headlines.
see any of their stuff, though.
They came out with one that said Biden announces civil war.
That's good. California heads to the polls to determine whether or not to keep
That's
Governor
right,
Newsom.
Governor Newsom.
And he won. So
Oh, he won. They kept him.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. Okay. What was the margin?
I didn't look at that, but I don't think it matters. I don't think the vote was anywhere close to fair. I
That's
just
true.
don't believe in California's votes anymore.
Because I mean, with California, who knows what voting system did they use? Diamond machine. What was the machines that all of the those questionable counties used? The diamond voting machines or whatever. They probably used.
I can't remember the name of them. Yeah, and they do voter harvesting there. They've got all kinds of.
They've got
there hasn't been an honest election.
All the
in
liberal
ages.
leftist techniques for swinging a vote.
The things that they used to steal the election from Trump, all of those started in California, and they've perfected it there.
Yeah.
No one decent is ever going to rule California again without some kind of miracle. So Russia demonstrates the use of unmanned ground vehicles in combat formations. They were doing some
like
kind of
tanks?
military exercise.
I mean, there's
A
are these
tracked
like tank
vehicle.
drones?
Yeah, I guess so. It says a tracked vehicle equipped with a 30 millimeter cannon, machine gun, and anti-tank missiles.
Okay, that's.
You broke them already?
I stepped on them.
My daughter keeps breaking her glasses. All right, well,
Do you see the little bend?
yeah, I might be able to fix
Right
that.
here, if we have some like wire, like pliers or something.
Yeah,
They
put
might
them on
be-
my table,
No, I
and
gotta wear them.
well, then after I'm done, I'll see if I can't fix them. But they might break.
Maybe you should order another pair.
She loves breaking her glasses.
Who
She
was?
does it like Bella. See,
On
here's
purpose?
the thing. I don't know. My kids, okay, you get glasses. You go to the doctor. They do an eye exam. Then they give you a piece of paper. That's
Yeah.
your prescription.
You have a prescription. You go somewhere else. You go to Walmart. Well, not Walmart for you, but you go somewhere else, buy your glasses.
Well, Vicky would, but here's the thing. She imagines that prescription the same as a script for, like, medication. And I'm like, Vicky, those are just numbers. That's just so you know what to order. You
Yeah,
can
so-
go anywhere, and you can get... You don't
can do
need
it
the
online.
actual prescription. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept telling them that, and they wouldn't believe me. So finally, she's like, she broke her glasses, and Vicky's trying to arrange, well, okay, we can get to wherever and then do this and that. And I'm like, guys, just go online. And nobody would listen to me. So I did it. I went
And you bought
online,
glasses.
and I bought a pair of glasses for like 30 or 40 bucks. And they got there in the mail, and Bella was excited. She's like, "Oh, I like these because they're so much better than the cheap ones that we get because we can't afford decent ones."
30 or 40 bucks.
I'm like, "See, I told you." But she stepped on them, and now they're
Oh, okay,
bent.
okay. So now you got to go order another $30
No, I could.
pair of glasses.
Either order them or maybe I can bend them back into
You might
shape.
be able to
We'll
fix
see.
these if the lenses
Yeah.
aren't broken. Maybe.
Yeah, it's the frame is metal and it's bent when she
Yeah.
stepped on it. I might be able to bend it back without
or
breaking
you
it.
might
Sometimes
be able to
you
make
try
it
to
so
bend
that
those and
it
they
works okay until the new ones get in. If you can
Yeah.
order them again. So
yeah. Oh well. That's all the news I got.
okay. All right. Well, I'm going to do my news then. So first, Okay, so everybody knows what cow patties are.
Cow
I
patties
guess
is dried up puddles of cow dung, right?
yeah, I guess scientists got annoyed at that, and they figured out
What?
that you can train cows. You can potty train cows.
Wait a minute. Got annoyed at the fact that there were cow patties all over?
Well, I don't know. I'm
Got
trying to
annoyed at the fact
imagine the
that everybody knew
motivation
what it was.
for potty training cows.
Did they really potty train a cow?
Yeah, they potty train cows. They
No.
It turns out that you can do it as easily as potty training toddlers.
No.
They used a sweet
They
treat
hold it in?
to coax the cow through the gate and then urinate in a special... Oh, maybe it's not the patties. Maybe it's just the urination.
Yeah.
It says they are at least as good as children aged 2 to 4 years, at least as quick.
Huh. You know...
A single cow can produce 8 gallons of urine in a day. Can you imagine if your baby were able to produce that much? A kid, like a toddler?
My kid can.
8 gallons
My
in
kid
a day.
could be 12.
Think of a gallon jug of milk. 8 of those lined up in one day.
And those diapers only hold half a gallon.
I know, so you got to go through 16 diapers a day. and your wife is like, "What do you mean half a gallon? Those diapers aren't supposed to hold more than a cup."
I should own Love's diapers at this point. I have bought so many Love's diapers. For 10 years straight, we were on Love's diapers. But they will hold a surprisingly large amount of urine.
They need to send you a medal for keeping their company alive.
Yeah. And every time we tried to switch, either something new or something better or something cheaper, usually something cheaper,
Yeah.
either it leaked or it gave them a rash. Every single other diaper. Love's is the only one that worked for us. Leaks or rash for everything else.
Yeah.
You can just put diapers on these cows.
Yeah, Loves, though. It's got to be Loves. Not Pampers, not Huggies.
Yeah. Be a whole new profit line for Loves.
That's right. Cow diapers. Those are for the calves that can't quite be potty trained yet.
Yeah, they're not old enough. I just can't imagine any reason to do that.
Well, I think they actually want the urine for something or other. Hold on, let me see if this says.
I guess if you had something specific you wanted to do with the urine. But still, I mean, you would have a lot of cattle, like, in the stalls where they're not grazing and stuff.
No, I guess the
Been on a
issue,
stone floor and they have drainage things that, I don't know.
I guess cow urine is a significant environmental problem on these cow ranches or something like that.
Oh, the environmentalists. They have a problem with everything.
Yeah, but you know,
Even
the article
something
does
as
say
natural
the
as
real
urine.
biggest problem though isn't the urine; it's the methane, which they say is a problem because it's a heat trapping gas. Well, I don't know. So what?
Yeah, this goes back to global warming, and they're trying to show how cattle are what cause global warming.
This
And I see this is a research lab in Germany and New Zealand, and yeah, these people are nuts.
Yeah,
What a bunch of doofuses.
And
These
by
are
the
the
way,
kinds of people who buy oil from Russia.
Yeah. Well, the whole cow potty training. First of all, it doesn't apply to defecating, just urinating. But
Yeah.
the guy who's talking about it also said the biggest problem is their flatulence because they emit this methane. He says they can't be trained not to belch or fart; they would blow up.
See,
I don't know.
I
That just
told
put
you,
an image into
you
my
can't
head.
hold it in.
You can't
It's
hold
not
it in or you blow
gonna.
up.
It's not gonna reabsorb. You'll blow up. I knew it.
That's right.
Okay.
All right, so here's an Ethiopia story. Yeah, everybody's down on Ethiopia. I don't get it. It's like you just got to keep knocking them down. So, 24-year-old won the Vienna Marathon. This is this past Sunday.
Okay.
But after he won the marathon, he was disqualified because he was wearing the wrong shoes. Did you know that you had to wear certain shoes to run a marathon?
Vienna Marathon. That is where? Where's Vienna? Where's the Vienna Marathon?
I would assume that it's in Vienna, but
that's I mean, yeah, this guy is from Kenya.
Yeah.
No,
Ethiopia.
No, Ethiopia. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's like, including us, because we tell the jokes and stuff. But
yeah.
I mean, is the Vienna
You have
Marathon
to wear certain shoes.
I mean, is it in Austria or there, or is it somewhere else? I don't know, but doesn't matter. It's in Europe somewhere. The marathon, I'm sure.
No wonder they're starving. Well, no, it's not his fault. He just happened to wear the wrong shoes.
Well, it says that
a half an inch thicker than the maximum 4 centimeters.
Yeah, less than a half an inch.
Huh? Less than half an inch thicker.
So
That's so dumb.
It is. But here's the thing. So 4 centimeters. Let's say it's about a half an inch. 4 centimeters. That's like 2 inches. Can you imagine running on shoes with 2-inch soles?
That's kind of thick.
That would be like running on, I don't know, like
4 centimeters is not 2 inches.
It's almost 2 inches. It's like 1.8 inches, right?
4 centimeters. Okay, so if 1 centimeter is 0.4 inches, that would mean 4 centimeters.
6.
Yeah, that's close to 2 inches.
Yeah, a little bit less than 2 inches. Actually,
so
his extra centimeter made it exactly 2 inches.
Yeah, 2 inches. I wonder, does that do something for your speed?
I don't know. Maybe it just did something.
Like
for
if
your
you
endurance.
think of a. No, but I'm thinking of if you think of the mechanics of it, when you bend your legs and think of a shaft and a what do you call it attached to it?
Not sure
a rod attached to a shaft. So okay, your knee bends.
Yeah.
If it bends at a certain speed, your foot might, say, move 2 times faster than it. Your foot moves faster than just below your knee. If you extend your foot, let's say you had shoes that were 3 feet thick.
Oh yeah.
Well, now the bottom of your shoe is going to move even faster.
Your stride is suddenly, like 3 times as fast.
Yeah. So technically, a thicker shoe would make you travel faster.
I guess.
It would. I assume that's why the rule is there.
But here's the thing: you can't run on 3
2
foot
inches
sole shoes.
I know, but he can run on 2 feet, and maybe that gives him just a split second.
But that's my
that
point.
He needs to win.
There's a thickness of shoes that you can't run on anyway. So why do they even have a rule about this?
Well, 2 inches apparently isn't it. Because that's how thick his were.
I don't know.
And that
poor guy
extra
from
centimeter gave him
Ethiopia.
a little bit of speed.
I've done enough Ethiopia jokes. I have to.
I still
side with
think
him.
they should have let him have it.
I feel sorry for
They
him.
Yeah, they should have let him have it. I'm just trying to figure out why you would want soles that thick.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing I can think of.
A thing? It could be the stride.
It technically
like you said.
makes your leg
It
a
does
little
make
bit
the stride
longer.
just a tiny bit longer.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, like, depending on the material, maybe it has a big difference on cushioning on your knees and fatigue and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, if the race is like 2.5 hours long, then that is a long time to run. So maybe it does.
All right. Let's see. Next, we've got... So you know the Nobel Prize, right?
No.
You don't know about the Nobel Prize?
No.
Like Nobel Peace Prize and stuff like that?
I know what that is. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Okay, I thought maybe something happened that I should know about.
Oh, no. You know of the Nobel Prize. Okay.
Yeah, I know what...
There is a Ig Nobel Prize, like Ig Nobel, Ig Nobel, IGNOBEL. And the winners of the 2021 Ig Nobel Prizes won them for doing research on beards and wads of gum.
Wads of gum. What is the difference between an Ig Nobel Prize and a Nobel Prize?
Well, the Nobel Prize is real. The Ig Nobel Prize is kind of like a spoof prize for weird science.
Oh, it's okay. I see. Beards and wads of gum.
Yeah. So it says that beards might be an evolutionary development to help protect a man's facial bones from a punch to the face.
We talked about that
We
once.
grow up punching each other
When
in the
they
face.
were
I know.
doing that.
I'm going to grow a beard. Then you can punch me and it won't hurt as bad.
Yeah, when they were doing that research, you brought that up on the
Did I bring it up on
your
this
nonsense
podcast?
news.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I remember that.
Okay, well, they won an Ig Nobel Prize for it.
Well, good for them. You know?
I'm trying to read ahead. See, okay.
I think it's more like a slap in the face from women who were angry. That's why I have a beard.
All right, so somebody discovered from a Spanish university that the already chewed gum, the ABC gum, you remember that? We used to say, do you want some ABC food already been chewed? That's been stuck to the sidewalk for 3 months is teeming with nasty bacteria. He says, our findings have implication for a wide range of disciplines, including forensics, contagious disease control, bioremediation of wasted chewing gum residues.
How about tobacco spit? Is that better or worse than ABC
than
gum?
chewed gum. I don't know. Now, here's one that I think deserves...
I wonder if was this like a joke you think they did? Like a team of... Like, say a group of students are like, okay, we need something to do our project on. Hey, let's do it on ABC gum. Something like that. Because I noticed it coming from universities, and it's just a bunch of kids fooling around.
And it's like, hey, yeah, let's try to convince people that it has forensic applications.
Yeah. I can see that. Okay. Well, good for them.
All right, last one. This is an almost Walmart story.
Walmart. Hey.
Almost Walmart. So, somebody found in a Walmart parking lot in Missouri a necklace that happens to be an urn containing some loved one's ashes.
Would have been kind of a big necklace, you'd think.
Well,
Or would it
I
be
guess
like a
it only
tiny
contains a few of the ashes. The thing is, I mean, how do you know which ashes it contains?
Yeah, how do they do that anyway? Could you
'Cause,
can
like,
go and
You could be.
they could put anything in there. They
Well,
could
that's
put
true.
wood
They could
ashes
put
in
anything,
there.
but I'm thinking like they could be ashes. It could be like the ashes of their butt or something stupid like that. And you're carrying around someone's butt on your necklace.
Well, I'm sure that they all get mixed up. Probably some of them are.
Well, I'm sure they do.
But you know,
too.
if
But I'm
you
just
know
saying,
guy
in theory.
wanted to save money, he could be like, throw these 3 bodies in together, and then we'll just split up the ashes in 3 different urns.
Or just throw them in together and we'll all bury them in the same plot.
They could do that.
Oh, you mean
too.
if the funeral home wanted to save money? Yes.
Yeah, because I'm sure it costs money, a lot of money to run that thing. 'Cause
Yeah,
they've
got to have that.
I mean, they got to
furnace
get it
and stuff
really
like that.
hot in there. Just trying to make steel hot enough to pound on, it takes a little bit of money.
Now,
So if you're going to actually burn a body,
this must be a Walmart shopper's kind of thing to do, these necklaces with your loved one's ashes, because the woman who found it said she recognized the item because she has a similar necklace containing
Wow.
her own mother's ashes.
I just can't imagine wearing anyone's ashes around my neck. That's so repulsive.
Yeah, me too. Even my parents, even my wife, I'm not going to wear her ashes around my neck.
Even my kids.
Or my kids. Yeah, forget it.
I just... No. That's...
When you die, you belong in the
No.
ground.
Yeah. Not on my neck. That's... Do you remember that show, that Weird Addictions show? There was a show called My Strange Addiction, I think. One of the addiction...
No, I don't remember that.
Was a girl who ate her dead boyfriend's ashes.
Ew. Yeah. So
Yeah.
did she get addicted to like human ashes then?
No, I think she would just keep putting small amounts of him in her mouth and eating them,
And she became addicted to that. Well,
Yeah.
okay, fine.
And so, but eventually she just run out, right?
that's what I'm saying. What happens when she's out? It's like, well, wait a minute. I don't have any more ashes of my boyfriend to eat. I would see that turning into a compulsion to buy ashes. Hey, I'll buy your ashes when you die.
She'll get
so I
other
can
guys'
keep eating
ashes. Yeah, to me, that's not
so
enough
gross.
to make a show on. I would have just said, well, let her eat the rest of them, and then she won't have anything else to eat.
Yeah.
And then maybe you're right. Maybe she'll start eating other people. Or even people who, not their ashes, but their flesh or something.
Resort to cannibalism or something like that. That's
Right.
gross. Yeah.
Okay, well, people do weird things.
All right, and people who shop at Walmart wear human ashes around their necks.
And they're even weirder.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
Okay, let's see.
Saint.
We've got a saint here.
Gotta have a saint.
Let's talk about Acacius,
Or Acatheus.
Acatheus or Acacius of Melitene. Died 435.
Which is
He
a
was-
city in what is now Turkey.
Yeah.
Just to give people an idea of location.
Right. He was born to a set of Christian parents who had been childless for a very long time, and they prayed for a child and promised God that if he gave them a child, they would dedicate the child to God.
Okay.
God gives them Acacius, and they dedicate Acacius to God. As he became of age, they sent him to the bishop of Melitene to be educated. This was a guy named Ostricius, Ostrychius. he was the bishop, and he was a strong bishop in the area. He was very much against the Macedonius heresy,
Okay.
which is the denial of the Holy Trinity, the Holy Spirit's divinity. He was one of the saints who spoke out during the First Council of Constantinople in 381. So this is the guy who is raising Acacius, or teaching him. Acacius becomes a priest eventually, and then when the bishop died, he became the bishop there. He kind of gained a reputation as a miracle worker. During a drought, he went out in an open field and held mass. When he mixed the water with the wine, which is part of the rite, it began to rain, and the drought was broken.
Okay.
On another extreme, the town was about to be flooded, and Acacius went to the river's edge and put a rock there, and he told the waters not to go past it. The river itself changed its course and flooded another area. Acacius had a temple built to the Mother of God, the Theotokos, which was, it came under attack of the pagans, and it also came under attack of there was a heresy going around at that time, that contested Mary being the Mother of God.
Right.
And so they were against it also. So it's not real clear whether this was sabotage or if it was just not good work. But the dome of this church that he had built was unstable, and during the dedication liturgy, the dome begins to crumble, and the whole congregation runs out, and Acacius calls them all back and says, "Hey, the Lord is the defender of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" So the people come back in and they attend the rest of the Mass. The dome literally stays suspended in the air. After the Mass, when every person was out, the dome collapsed and the church collapsed.
Oh.
Acacius participated in the defense of the two natures of Christ and the Theotokos during the Third Ecumenical Council of 431. This was against a heretic named Nestorius. He died in 435, a peaceful death. This is the first guy we've done who's not a martyr.
Yeah, wow. Right at the end of the Age of Martyrs there.
Yeah.
And this is kind of interesting because here's the thing. Protestants like to say that this whole, Marian devotion thing is a invention and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Here he is in end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th centuries, building a temple in honor of Mary as the Mother of God specifically. And of course that ties right in with the Nestorian heresy, because if Jesus didn't have a true human nature, if his humanity is like some kind of illusion or something like that, then Mary wasn't really his mother, and so Mary wasn't really the Mother of God then. But here he is building a temple in honor of Mary as the Mother of God in the late 4th, early 5th century. I don't see that it's, when exactly he built that temple.
Yeah.
He's not just like coming up with this idea out of the blue. He's doing this because this is the thing that, had already been around and well established before his lifetime. This shows how ancient the idea is of honoring Mary as specifically the Mother of God.
Right. And along with the two natures of Christ, being true God and true man.
Yeah.
It all kind of works together. And they saw that from very early on. It was only talked about in a council when somebody objected to it and it was called into question.
Yeah.
But that's what they had already
And,
believed.
you know, the thing is, I think a lot, like I mentioned, this is like just at the end of sort of the age of the martyrs. These various martyrdoms, these various persecutions, kind of kept the church in a mode where it had to just rely on the tradition of its practice. They didn't have time to have these theological discussions because they were busy being martyred.
Yeah. Every time they got a really good Christian, he would go profess his faith to the governor and be killed.
He might be tortured and restored to health
tortured and healed
miraculously
first.
a couple times.
That's what you did when you were a Christian.
That's true.
You went and professed your faith and got tortured and killed.
God didn't pick me to live in that time. I don't know that I would have remained faithful.
Yeah, that would have been tough. Really tough. Okay, well, I thought we'd have one that wasn't killed for his faith, that just died a simple, peaceful death.
No,
so,
but certainly
Acacius
a good one,
Melitine.
and a relevant one. But you're still in the A's, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm still way in the A's. So
many saints in the
okay.
church. That's the thing.
My gosh.
It's kind of. I was.
We'll never run out in this podcast.
I forget what I was what I was reading or who was pointing it out to me that they said like all these like statues in the church and stuff like that. There's this modern concept that they need to get rid of them because they're distracting. But you look at all these saints, and it's like the whole point of the interior of a church is that you're supposed to be able to feel like you're in the company of the saints in heaven.
Yeah.
It's not that
the communion of the
it's
saints.
Like, exactly. It's like, okay, we're all together worshiping the Lamb, just like it describes in Revelation.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, the statues, I think, lend to that.
Exactly.
I think...
So many saints in the church, and we ought to be eager to fill our churches with a sense of those saints.
And a reminder that we can call on them and ask for help.
Yeah.
And ask for their prayers.
Absolutely. That's right. Okay.
Okay. Well, this is a short one.
I know. Under 2 hours.
Normal. Yeah. Okay, well. Think about what we said, and as always...
Circle the beads.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.